Hello, world changers, trendsetters. This is Marisa Bludorn, and welcome to It's Your Life, Own It, as featured in the Own It magazine. I am so excited to be with you this morning and share with you our insight and thoughts on today's topic. Taking center stage and owning it with me is Pastor Jacqueline Lulu Brown, Pastor Daraine Irvin, Dr. Stephanie Reed, Tiffany Power, Dr. Jeffrey Berger, Nathaniel X. Ross, Sabine, our international real estate guru, and Teresa Palmer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be with you here again today. This is the top of the year for us. Can you believe that even though it's the top of the year, this month is almost over?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we're coming out the gate speed and full throttle. And so today we're talking about shadowing. And I want to charge you, right? Because some of the topics that we talk about, folks may say, well, what does this have to do with me? Why is this important to me? And I just want to say to you in regards to that, Teresa, you're up first. What are we talk about leadership in the beginning of the year, January, we talked about understanding your leadership style. And we have a tendency to think that leadership is always above us, those who are in charge of us, without capturing or being awakened to the fact that we are leaders of ourselves first. Before you can be a leader of anyone else, you're leading yourself first. And so It's Your Life, Own It is about owning your life and understanding that and being fully awakened and intentional with that. And so some of the ways that we learn, right, and some of the ways that we improve upon our performance, how we're showing up for ourselves, is by learning and gleaning from others. And so share with us, why would it be important for us as individuals to look into shadowing as part of a development aspect of our lives?
Welcome, everyone. I think it's so important that we do the inner work. And with shadow, what's called the shadow, is a part of us that sometimes we don't want to acknowledge. It's like if you're triggered by someone or something, you need to look at yourself and say, why am I being triggered? What is it about that bothers me? And what is it about me that maybe it's something I want to do or a way I want to be? Maybe if I'm a little shy, I want to be more outgoing. Maybe if I'm really outgoing and loud, I want to tone that down a little bit. So that's doing the inner work. And you can't, we have to do our inner work in order not only to know ourselves, but then be able to go out there and help others. Because if you don't know yourself, it's like going to a therapist that has no idea of their own inner work. How could they help you when they haven't done the work themselves? And it's the same thing regardless of whether you're a coach, a therapist, a nurse, a doctor, any of those things. Real estate, you have to know yourself, and only then can you go out and help others. So that's why it's vitally important to look at your shadow, to do that inner work. And if you need to, even do it with somebody professionally. There's no harm in that either. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent point. Those hidden traits. So I'm going to just go right on over and pass it over to Pastor Jacqueline Lulu Brown. Share with us that, because we do try to hide the shadows, right? We do try to hide those things, and we talk about the SWOT analysis. So go on, share your thoughts.
There are some root causes that very
We can't
often.
hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. There are some
Okay.
root causes sometimes
I
that
can't either,
we
Teresa. It's okay.
miss when we're looking at why do we hold back and why does that shadow person stay back. And I'll just give one example. While in corporate leadership, I worked in a male-dominated environment, and you get these 360 feedback every year. You go through these different tasks that they take leadership through. And sometimes they're very subjective. And if your strengths and your personality are one style, but the leadership is not looking at what the diversity of styles brings, and they're really kind of this is the way I think it should go, it'll cause us to kind of press that down. So sometimes in an effort to conform, we suppress these really great qualities. They become these shadows way in the back, where we're leaning a little too heavily onto some of the other personality traits that people are expecting of us because that's what works for them. So that's just something that I think that we should be mindful of, is prioritizing. Teresa talks a lot about the inner work. When we're doing the inner work, prioritize what is unique about us so that we are not in a shadow place, but we're actually allowing those things that are strengths to come forward. Because it's just so easy, Marisa and team, for us to get such an impression of that others have of us that starts to mold us back into a shadow where we're not really letting our gifting come forward.
Something incredible. Jeffrey, you heard her, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Sabine, you heard her too? All right. So great. So we're gonna move right along. Okay, all right. So great. So I want to hear from Dr. Reed. We're gonna let you go up because these are areas in which we do try to avoid. I know that Lulu and I differ in the fact that she doesn't like the word weakness in the SWOT analysis, but I like it because it gives us an opportunity to look at it. What is the big deal? The big deal is that we see it and we are able to address it. To me, that is just so important, is that we don't shy away from, adverse words or words that make us feel uncomfortable. Just take the bull by the hand and just say, hey, listen, we got to deal with this issue so that we can move forward. I know that everybody does not have that boldness or that confidence level. So share about your perspective on shadow.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Missed you guys. Shadow work to me is the opportunity for growth. And the problem with that is we don't allow ourselves to sit quiet enough to even acknowledge the shadow is there. We only see it as a side of ourselves that pops out that we don't like. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves to experience the opportunity of that moment or that situation to be a growth point. Because, like Lulu said, we are in a stereotypical environment where the shadow work isn't welcomed, right? And so instead of beating ourselves up about how we showed up on a particular day, that is the shadow letting us know that there's something that we need to learn, something we need to change, something we need to do differently, because it creates angst, right? When you recognize that you didn't show up in a way that was expected or valued, then your limiting beliefs start to pop in. Limiting beliefs start creating a sense of I'm not validated, I'm not perfect, I'm not good enough. And that drives the shadow even deeper. And so now we become imposters. Imposter syndrome shows up. And when you have all those things starting to happen, then that's when health problems start to happen. The heart palpitations, the gastrointestinal problems, the fear of failure, anxiety. And so when you start to have these feelings and they are accompanied by physiological manifestations, that's where a naturopath shines. Because as a naturopath, I understand that your physiological manifestations has everything to do with your spirit and your mind. So if you're in your shadow and you're emotionally, spiritually starting to feel anxious and angry and judged and not seen and invalidated, we recognize that that's something in our minds is saying, wait a minute, I have limiting beliefs that came from triggers of past traumas. Let me start sitting quiet to let my spirit speak to me to see what's happening. The problem is we don't give ourselves the downtime. And that's why I'm having a retreat in March.
There you go, mama. Yes, yes. It's so important to allow yourself to be yourself.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be yourself. One of the biggest things that we do is avoidance, right? We avoid the very thing that makes us feel uncomfortable. And a lot of times it's that when you're by yourself, you ain't got nobody else to talk to. You don't have nobody else to pretend for. You got to deal.
Yeah.
And you have to, when most people put on that makeup, I don't even think they're looking at themselves. Pastor Durain, I want your insight on the shadow work, that avoidance of, some of those traits that we don't like. And just like Lulu said, that aren't acceptable. Oh, you got to come off mute.
I apologize. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Powerful wording from everyone. And definitely, Teresa, I like that. Trying to know yourself. And Dr. Reed, allowing yourself to be yourself. I'm a little quirky in that area. I don't use weakness because educators don't like to be called or be told they have areas of weaknesses. So many, many years ago, I came up with my glows, which are your strength, and my grows, which are your areas of growth. And it seemed like teachers were able to handle those words better than for me to say, these are your area of weaknesses. Just a play on words. I do like the concept of the shadow, but I kind of call it my spiritual workout. I've done some strength finders assessments, and then we do our gifting assessments. And I look at my areas of growth. And what I try to do is surround myself with people who my areas of growth are their areas of glows and strengths. And I'm very upfront to say, okay, people, this is my area of growth. This is not my wheelhouse. So I'm going to depend on you to be the leader in that area. It empowers me to accept the fact that, number one, I'm not perfect in every area. I know we try to think we are. We're a bag of potato chips with some whipped cream on the top, but we're not. And so I embrace my areas of growth because I use those people around me, and I can build from their areas of strength, and then that empowers them. And they have more respect for you if you say, sweetie, I don't know this. This is not my wheelhouse. Right. So I'm going to depend on you. I need you to bring this to the next meeting. And so that's what I have done. But I kind of call it my spiritual checkup, and I try to do it periodically. For those of you who are getting to know me, I'm very upfront in who I am. I talk to myself, diva, that's not your area, baby. You need to depend on somebody else. Okay, girl? And so then I go to that person and say, sweetie, this is not my wheelhouse. How can you help me in this area? But I think it's important that we do that periodically. We have to know ourselves, but more importantly, we have to be comfortable with who we are. And I'm very comfortable with who I am. And I say the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the bad might get better and the uglier might get uglier. But I accept it as it is, and I move forward and give it to God. God, I need you to help me in this area. Holy Spirit, I need you to guide me in this area. What I don't know, I need you to supernaturally drop it into my spirit so I could be successful in this area. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how I handle the shadow things.
Yes. And growth is not personal. So when someone's giving you feedback, it's not an attack on you. It's for you to grow, right? And I think that when we shift in our mindset of taking things so personally, that, when you get to a place of hunger for developing yourself, I believe that it lessens that blow of, that adverse feedback, or that feedback that's not always good.
Can I just add something to that? But in the education realm, because we're supposed to be the experts, it's kind of hard to swallow that you have an area of weakness. So I had to develop another way to address it because they did feel personally attacked.
Yeah, and that's something that we have to, on the leadership side as well as on the follower side, we have to be conscious of, not taking things so personal, and taking them from a place of growth, like you said, glow and grow. So we have to, if we want to get to that place of ease, you got to get rid of looking at things like feedback. I love it because Lulu says this all the time is, disease comes from dis-ease. Well, how do you handle that? It's how are you looking at your mindset about getting the feedback? Do you better and improve? Then you got to be open to it. And this is, like I said, this isn't the easy place to be. Like in this space is not the easy place to be initially, but it doesn't have to stay that way. It can change when you change your mindset and you're open to growing. And I always equate it to where because we're not taught that in growing up, because that's not, when we're little kids and we're not, discipline is discipline instead of education or enlightenment. And if you take a child and you start enlightening them, there's a level of maturity that begins at a very, very early age where they don't take feedback as punishment or harsh. They take it as the part of the developmental journey. Okay, this is what I need to do in order for me to show up better. And so, Coach Tiffany, over to you and ask you about, the shadow work, doing the shadow work, especially in fitness. I mean, this is another thing in fitness and making healthy choices and things like that. So share your thoughts.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everybody. This has been just great hearing everyone speak on this. When it comes to the health and wellness piece, I mean, if you don't do the shadow work, it will come up. I mean, you will see yourself doing that emotional, eating and, not getting up and doing the movement and things that you need to do because you're going backwards. You're feeling some type of way. And that's when you have to really learn about that inner work as Teresa, says, and learn the energetic body, because that's what it really is all about, is learning what makes you tick in that our energetic body to understand understand the releases, right? So accepting that adverse feedback. I mean, I am a coach that I'm going to be I'm a little harsh at times, but I'm very blunt and honest. And I'll tell you, and I want to hear that as well, because I need to know where I need to work on, what I need to work on so I can get to that next level. I also, for myself, I surround myself with people that I aspire to, be like, and aspire to, to do some of the things that they've done. Like Ernestine Shepherd, I've been following her for years because she started out in her 50s, doing the work on herself, and is still, I think, in her 80s now, still doing the work, right? And she talks about how when she starts her day, she sits and she's quiet and she meditates. And that is so, so important, to take that time just to be quiet, because we're stuck. I always talk about that hamster wheel, and I was stuck in that hamster wheel, and I had all this dis-ease in my body until I finally just said, let me go ahead and, do the work. So that's what you got to do. You just got to do the work, and you got to accept the feedback that's coming, and you got to listen to your body. So that's really the things that I do in this shadow work. And it is a continuous journey. So you have to stay consistent with it. And that's with everything.
Yes. I love getting the feedback. It's so critically important to give you a pulse for where you are. Are you on track with your own personal development stages? And so I am going to switch over to Sabine. And Sabine, one of the things that you may, I'm not sure, and you can tell, share with the audience from the international living perspective, what causes people to not make that move, indecisiveness. I know we were talking about having appointments and juggling those appointments and different things like that. How does shadow work in the sense of folks not self-sabotaging, to not want to make that move because they're gonna come to another country, they gotta, there's all of that comes with it, purchasing a property, etc.
Yes, hello everybody. So I am German and I came to the Dominican Republic 21 years ago. And I think it's all about, like, nobody's perfect. You have to always self-reflect, and you know yourself best what is your weak point. So, and I think most people are not, they are afraid they might do something that they will regret at the end, or they're just insecure. They don't know how to handle all these things. And so you know it, and then once you know it, you can look for help. And there's always someone that can help you with these thoughts, or just not be afraid to do a step or to make a step in your life that you are just scared. So I mean, I have gone back and forth to Germany 4 times, and it's always a big challenge. But once you go inside yourself and you think about what did I do already? What goals did I get? And I was successful. So I don't have to be afraid. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And even if it fails, I mean, then it fails. Then you still get up and go again. And this is what we try to help people with that are thinking about investing or moving to another country. These are big challenges, but it's nothing that cannot be done. But you have to always be aware of what I want and why am I not getting there. And if you think there's some obstacles in your way at yourself, then just go and seek help. And there's always someone that can help you with it.
Right. And being connected with the right experts, right? So being connected, especially when you're moving from one country to another, is to have someone that you could go to, that you build a relationship or trust, or have a solid reputation of trust. Because once you get that one professional in the, internationally, they definitely have the other connections to the resources that you're going to need. And that's one thing that I've connecting with you, the attorneys, and all of the professional resources that you need to make that full transition. That's what happens. And so that's what gets rid of that dis-ease and discomfort. And also too, not self-sabotaging you out of something that can be a phenomenal experience.
Right.
And that also builds us up, because with each experience that could have been nerve or easy to say, I'm not going to do that, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, it's too new for me. With each one of those experiences, when we go through that process and we actually get a chance to actually experience it, it builds up confidence, right? And it helps us to have more trust in our intuition, more trust in our instincts, and more trust in our evaluation of self. And making decisions. So critically important. I'm going to go over to Nathaniel, and then over to then I'm going to wrap it up with Jeffrey. Pastor Irvin, I know that you have a hard leave. So you just, you got to check out. By all means, just go right ahead and check out. And we're so thankful that you joined us this morning. Nathaniel?
Well, it's been a lot of interesting conversation, views and approaches to what we're talking about. And I guess if I had to summarize what I've heard so far, is that this thing called fear, right? And fear is really false evidence appearing real. And that's what keep people from moving forward. And that's across the board. So, as we develop titles and slogans and ways of navigating, and we sometimes lose sight of what those things are. So we've all heard fake it until you make it. Well, a lot of people fake it and they get stuck in faking it, and they never make it because they're so caught up in the faking it and don't realize that they're stuck and that they're not moving forward. So we just have to be careful in the terminology that are used, sayings that are out there, and surround ourselves with people that can call us on stuff, right? Saying, okay, it's all right, you fake it, make it fine. All right, but when do you really start to do the work in order to be there to become a leader? And the real thing with leaders are most leaders don't want to be leaders. Most real leaders are leaders because they are compelled to be leaders. The person that's up there raising their hand, oh, I lead. They're full of egos. And they want to lead people and control people and take them down paths that they shouldn't. And if we look at life, we can see that. But then you have the real leader that may or may not have the title, right? Because you can be given an official title and we still turn to the real leader that's behind the scenes that doesn't have the title. Or you can be given the title or not have the title, and you can be a true leader. But in order to be a true leader, you have to be a good follower. So in order to do the work, do the following. Follow, and then step into that servant role of leadership. And that's what propels us, takes us to that next level. So, that's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. A very good 2 cents. I really enjoyed that. And you're so right on, because it's dual, right? So we're not just talking about just the leader, and we're talking about, the individual who is navigating through this thing called life. And if you want differences, if you want changes, sometimes that's radical, because your environment is not always going to be supportive. And we already know that. And that's what we're sharing with the audience, is that the people that are around you, your family, your friends, they're not necessarily going to be on the path that you are going to end up taking. And you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready to be unready, right? So I just agree with you. Definitely a direct approach is necessary. So I'm going to digress. Jeffrey, you're going to close us out with your thoughts.
Sure. Thank you so much, Marisa. And it's good to be here with this esteemed panel of leaders here today. So I want to start out with, earlier you said when we get up, we put our makeup on. I want to make it clear I don't put makeup on in the morning. So with that, preparing for this, this shadow work here really made me sit down and think. And everybody brought some great insight with the inner work and what's unique to yourself, growth in the shadow, areas of growth, mental health. With Tiffany, what she's talking about, mental health does play into this as well. Sabine, insecurity, Nathaniel about the fear factor. And for me, I came up with actually 3 key elements for knowing who I am, which is resilience, authenticity, as well as self-awareness. I'm only going to talk about self-awareness today. So truly, knowing yourself requires deep introspectiveness. All right. And for me, it's been about understanding what my values are, what my beliefs, what my strengths and weaknesses, or areas of growth, if you will, and the triggers. And with that, by embracing these authentically through my own self, this is part of the journey, which is where we actually grow. So for me, it's been very, very impactful because I come from a background of corporate America for 27 years, being in a box, and not really thinking for myself, because it was responsibilities from that perspective of getting the job done. Now that I'm on my own, it allows me to open up and embrace those fears, but then also grow through that. So knowing who I am has been a key component to my growth over the last 8 to 10 years on my journey, along with knowing you leaders here, because I've got almost a page of notes here that I'm taking from today's session. It's been truly amazing. And that is where Nathaniel says the leader follows. So we're following, listening to everybody share their journey and what they've, want to share with the world. So thank you so much.
This is excellent. Excellent points. Love it. I got everybody right. I made sure I got everybody. Because we want to live fulfilling lives, right? We want to live a life. We want to get up to a place that we're enjoying the journey. Going through the motions, but we really want to enjoy the journey. And that means that we may have to do some things, shift some things around about the things that we do. And I know that Pastor Doreen is gone, but she said, I say, grab hold of and own the good, the bad, the ugly, and indifferent. It's you, and start to cultivate the parts of you that you really, really love, and the parts of you that you don't love. Then start working on those and transforming them, because you don't want to be because that's when the lack of authenticity comes in, is when you're frustrated because you're not truly being yourself. And so I just want to say thank you. This has been this topic is shadow work, and that's looking at some of the traits, the hidden traits that you're avoiding, or you just maybe you don't see them, and they're being brought into light, and they're affecting how you're showing up in your life. And so again, this is shadow work. You do your own research on it, and get to know yourself, fall in love with who you are, and be on agenda for all that you want to experience in life and see in life. Love you guys so very much. Thank you for being with us today. This has been It's Your Life, Own It. We are here every Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we look forward to seeing you again the next time. Take care and be blessed. We're out.